All right.
It texts me.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? Good. First off, some housekeeping stuff. The bathrooms are outside the door here to the left of me, outside the door, men's and women's. Other than that, our chairwoman, Ms. Mayfield, can't be here this morning, but she is going to join us on the telephone. She's a little bit under the weather, and so
I am here.
She
Can
is
you all
here.
hear me?
We can, thank you.
I'm here. Can you all hear me? We can. Can you all hear me? We can.
That must be her TV or her computer or
Sorry.
something.
Yep, I got it. The YouTube came on right at the same time. I'm very sorry, everybody, that I can't be there, but I think you can hear from the sound of my voice that I shouldn't be there. I think we're all happier that I'm not there.
All right. So, Julie, how do you want to do this? Do you want me to lead, or do you want to go ahead and take charge of the meeting, or how do you want to do it?
I'm happy, Keith, for you to sort of manage things, and probably the more I stay on mute and the less I say, the better.
Okay. Well, feel free to jump in at any point in time. For the folks that are actually here, I actually left my regular glasses at City Hall. So it's not that the sun is killing my eyes, it's that I can't see. So these are my stand-ins right now.
Councilman Young, one more quick housekeeping for.
Sure.
folks. If everyone would use the back doors here, we're broadcasting, obviously, and so it's a little less disruptive for folks looking at the screen and the camera. If you'll go in and out that way, it still comes out into the reception room.
Any other housekeeping notes? Okay. So we'll move right on into the agenda. Need a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All right. And then we'll have an update from the community development manager. Or, well, Kathy.
Well, I'm sitting in today. This is Kathy Ball, Assistant City Manager, so welcome. We're going to do the best we can with having Julie on the phone. A few announcements to you all as you're presenting. We have set up a timer, and you will be able to see it from where you are. So I will unfortunately have to be the bad guy with telling you if you run over, because we do have a tight schedule today. So I appreciate that. Committee members and council members, we also have sheets for you all to fill out as you're listening to presentations that we will take back from you and then enter into the computer in ways that you've seen in the past. So that's all the announcements that I have. We do have a change in, a change in the schedule this morning. The Spark Foundation that was listed as being here at 9:15 has been moved into the economic development category and will start around 9:55 after we hear from the public services groups. So with that, Councilman Young, we're ready to start.
All right.
Or Kathy, can I also ask you to, for folks who don't know about Michael's departure, just to say a word about that?
Certainly. Michael Blair, who had been with us just a short while, received an opportunity to go back to his job, so he has left us as of last week. We greatly miss him. I appreciate the community development staff for stepping up and working during this very busy time of theirs. We have asked Paul D'Angelo to step in as interim manager. So Paul will be serving in that role, and I think the team is going to be able to fill that void. So thank you, Julie, for the reminder.
Thanks.
So we're about 2 minutes ahead of schedule right now. We're going to start with Helpmate before the individual who's representing them comes up. I just want to say, I know this is a long and tedious process, and your organizations, the work that you do in the community is greatly appreciated. Going through this process, I know is a bit hectic at times, but we appreciate what you do, and we appreciate you coming to the city for this opportunity to be able to fund your organizations in a more beneficial way. And so just wanted to say thank you to everybody who has applied, and we will do our best this afternoon, or this morning, today, to make allocations that benefit everyone. So thank you, and we'll go ahead and get started with Helpmate.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Council members, Ms. Ball, I'm really grateful for your time and for the hard task you have in front of you today. I don't envy you the choices you need to make, but I'm grateful for the time that you spend having to make those choices. So my name is April Burgess Johnson. I have the privilege of serving as the Executive Director for HelpMate, and I wanted to spend my 5 minutes talking to you just a bit about our organization and specifically about our emergency shelter program, which is what we're requesting community development block funds to fund. So HelpMate is a private nonprofit. We've existed in Buncombe County for 40 years. We provide safety, shelter, and support to survivors of domestic violence. We serve 2,750 people here in Buncombe County every single year. And about 225 of those come through our emergency shelter. That includes about 100 children. Our shelter prioritizes intakes a little bit differently than the other emergency shelters in the community. We use an evidence-based tool called the lethality assessment tool that basically predicts homicide risks. And so we are quite literally sheltering the people that are most likely to die if we don't. We receive about 500 requests for emergency shelter every year, and we shelter 225. That means that the need in the community is clearly demonstrated and outpaces even our capacity to meet it. We do have a commitment that no person spend an extra night in an abusive home, so when they are ready to flee, if our shelter is full, we do a handful of things. We'll do shelter Tetris, which is a little bit of rearranging to try to pull people in if they're in an urgent situation, even if that's on a pullout or something like that, to make sure that they have a safe place to go. We also have great relationships with the other emergency shelters in the community, that if there's somebody with a lower danger level that can be in a more public shelter, we will house them there. Or very often, we're working to house people in neighboring counties' domestic violence shelters. Anytime somebody is receiving services from us but is temporarily housed somewhere else, we're offering wraparound case management to those survivors so that if they intend to relocate back here to Buncombe County, then we're providing the support for them to be able to do that and to find a permanent housing match. 75% of the people who stay in HelpMate's emergency shelter exit to a known safe location. Whenever that's possible, we try to make that a permanent housing match. There are sometimes when people need some time to heal. And so they'll move in with their mother, their best friend, their sister, their brother, to get that family support wrapped around them. We try to make sure that our shelter is available during the time when the most urgent safety needs exist. And so some of the things that allow folks to exit into some of those more family-oriented environments would be that the offender goes to jail or that there's a protective order or some other community sanction in place that makes it safer for them to be out in the community. While people are in our shelter, they receive a host of services. There's free clinical counseling that's available that we use a trauma-informed, evidence-based model to provide to people. So counseling is available both on an individual basis and also in support groups. We also offer a comprehensive case management program, and more than 3/4 of the people that we serve make progress on their self-identified goals around case management. And so we know that the shelter is not only providing a safe landing spot for folks, but is also providing the ability to kind of get their lives on a healthier, stronger path so that they can survive independently and away from that batterer that was causing them harm. We've also added some specialized services for children. We know that children who are exposed to trauma are much more likely to either perpetrate or experience trauma as adults. If that trauma results in an incarceration or hospitalization of their parent, they're 4 times as likely as a child who doesn't have that experience to then perpetrate or be victimized as adults. And so we try to intervene early so that we're not working with the same families generation after generation to provide the support that that family needs. We try to interrupt that cycle as quickly as we can. We network with counseling with the children. If 75% of the time, there's co-occurring domestic violence and child maltreatment. And so we have an embedded expert that works at the Department of Social Services to consult on those cases. And we also accompany those families to child and family team meetings and juvenile court, so that we're working in tandem with folks like guardian ad litem and DSS social workers to make sure that the kids and the adults in the family are getting the support that they need to create healthy, safe, and violence-free lives.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. The last thing I'll mention as I'm leaving is that I'm attending racial equity training today, and so I apologize for not staying for your deliberations. I know occasionally you have questions during your deliberation process. Both Rob and Merrill from Physical Legal Services has my contact information, and I'll also leave it with Paul. I'll be delighted to answer any follow-ups you have. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Council members, April, I am so sorry that I missed one announcement. In order to make sure we capture your presentation, we would ask that presenters speak from the podium so that they can be seen from the YouTube. But you're great.
I'm terribly sorry. Do
No,
I need to
no,
do
no.
something now?
No, you're great.
Okay.
You're great. I just would point that out.
I came to the chair I
next
sat in
speaker.
last time.
So we
Thank
did
you
it
so
last year,
much.
so-
Oh, okay.
So-
Sorry about that.
So for the next couple of presentations, well, all the presentations, Kathy is saying in order to be seen on the live stream, we need to come to the podium. So just kind of a little bit of a hit the reset button. That's kind of what we did last year. They came up here and spoke. But if the next group would please come to the podium, it's going to be Caring for Children, Trinity Place, Runway Homeless Youth Shelter.
And Kathy, I question, it has to be within that 5-minute.
No.
Okay.
If you want to ask additional
Floor,
questions,
okay.
we can, it's up to you all, however you all want to run the meeting.
We've got time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Amy Hobson with Caring for Children, Trinity Place Youth Shelter, and we appreciate having the opportunity to speak with you in front of you today to talk about our agency and our program. We're also really honored to be here with other community organizations that we partner with, and we appreciate all of the services and the work that you do for our community. So just a big shout out, thank you. So Trinity Place is the only emergency shelter for youth in a 14-county radius. We give priority, obviously, to Asheville-Buncombe County, but we are the only emergency shelter. Sorry. It's always interesting to have your voice amplified. Last year, we served 150 children. We were up 10%, and we are seeing this year that we are already going to surpass that. What we have seen at Trinity Place is with the increase of the opioid epidemic, it is really hitting the children in our community. More children are now staying with grandparents and other caregivers instead of their birth parents because of the epidemic. And with that, grandparents are needing more support. We're finding that more children are ended up homeless on the street and really need support during that transition. So we serve children in the Asheville-Buncombe County area. They stay with us anywhere from 1 day up until 3 weeks, so we can support a transition either going back home with grandparents, parents, group homes, foster care, whatever the need may be. We partner with many agencies. We have many children that are homeless, and so dealing with the challenges of finding permanent housing for parents. So we're able to assist by keeping their children safe, attending school, and participating in therapeutic recreational activities. With the increase of children we're also seeing an increase in children that have dropped out from school. So what we looked at doing this year, and we've just implemented, is we have a credit recovery program at Trinity Place, because we recognize that education is the key. So we're able, while that child is staying with us, to work with them, give them their own computer, their own tablet, and set them into an online credit recovery program. And we've seen with that, we're hoping that will really protect these children from being on the streets or remaining homeless. Just gives them so much more opportunity. So we're really happy to be here this year. We're asking for an increase, a small increase in what we asked for last year, what we received last year, to really implement that system of credit recovery. We're a shelter, so we're open 24/7, rain or shine. I've noticed that postmen used to say that, but I think they get certain holidays. We don't do those holidays. We're there all of the time for the children. And so for us, it's really important to have these additional support services. We, as a shelter, operate If we have a family, parent, child that needs support that's not staying at the shelter, we have a crisis line that is open 24/7, is always manned, to offer references, referrals to other agencies, as well as talk about the other support services at Caring for Children. That's really what I have for you right now. Any questions?
Do you monitor families or our youth after discharge?
We do. So best practice is to monitor them for 6 months. We do an entire year. So every month, we're checking in with them to see if they need additional services, how they're doing educationally with this new pilot program, really just seeing if there's anything else further that we can do to support them in their journey.
And how does the case management look? How frequent is it after discharge?
So after discharge, we call within 24 hours. Then it is at 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and a year. That's us reaching out to families. The families have our contact information and frequently are calling us before that time period for additional support.
Any career service training for out-of-school youth who they're really not into education?
Yes, so for us, we partner with DJJ, Juvenile Justice, and so with Raise the Age, it's even becoming more of significant. Caring for Children is part of a nonprofit, a national nonprofit, Eckerd Connects, and we have vocational training. So we're able to piggyback on that and offer vocational training services to all of the youth that come to Trinity Place.
And how many beds do you all have?
We have 6 beds. We're licensed for 6 beds, but as I say, last year was 150 children that we served, and we're looking at a vast increase this year.
Thank you.
Thank
Do you have an estimate on what the increase might be of children that need to be served?
That need to be served?
Well, what do you estimate the increase to be of children that you will serve?
We're looking at this point, it looks to be on target of between 175 and 180 for this year. So it's definitely an increase for us.
And you have anything else that you would like to add? I think we still have some time left on the timer. Well, but anyway, do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
We just really appreciate the support, as I say. There's really nowhere else for these young children to go, these kiddos, 7 to 17. And so we're really appreciative to be here and to offer that support for them.
Okay. I'd like to offer Councilwoman Mayfield the opportunity to jump in if she wanted to ask any questions. I didn't do that the last time.
That's all right. I appreciate it. I'm good. I'll jump in when I do.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you so
Appreciate it.
much.
Next is On Track Financial.
Good morning. I'm Jonathan Stansel. I'm the Homebuyer Program Director at On Track, and Anna Smith is going to come up in a few minutes too. She's an educator and counselor with us. Our Executive Director, Celeste Collins, regrets that she's out of town and wasn't able to be here. We told her that considering this is the first time in 25 years that she's missed this, you'd probably understand. I hope that's the case. So we're here to talk about our Financial Capabilities Program, which includes money management, credit building, and our Homebuyer Program. Money management and credit building has always largely been about housing. That includes both rental housing and home ownership, but we're including the homebuyer program for the first time this year. And so I want to focus in on that a bit more. We're doing that for a few reasons. One is that we perceived an increase in interest from council and city staff in home buying. The other thing is that we saw the down payment assistance, the new down payment assistance coming down the pike. And that's one of the requirements of that program is homebuyer education from a HUD-approved housing counseling agency. And so we know that that's going to drive more interest, including from people that don't end up getting the DPA from the city. Depending on how you count it, there's actually 5 to 8 other sources of down payment assistance out there. It's an overwhelming amount. Some of them are just time wasters. Some of them are going to need to be layered on top of the city's down payment assistance that people are going to be able to buy in the city. And I don't know that there's anybody in town other than Anna and her coworkers who have that knowledge at their fingertips of which of those are worth getting into and which aren't. Similarly, I believe that lenders are a vital part of this process, including getting this down payment assistance out. But I think any good lender will say that, yeah, they have their qualifying ratios, but they're not really getting into affordability and what people can afford. That's what On Track does. So, they don't know how many kids you have. They don't know how far you're driving to work, that sort of thing. So our work in homeownership, we consider it foreclosure prevention work, which is which is vital. I've talked about how smart Anna is and what she knows. See, what else I want to say? A few other notes about why this matters so much. This work matters. OnTrack has been aware for quite some time that important components to closing the racial equity gap are credit building and home ownership. That's a tough nut to crack, but we knew that we needed to start by serving people of color better. So we started tracking this back in 2013. At the time, we were serving, our clients were about 12% people of color. And the last time we checked, which was, I think, a few months ago, it was 28% people of color. And Anna and I were trying to figure out why that is. And we don't think we accomplished that through marketing. We think we accomplished that through doing what we do better than ever and building trust with people and having people come to us, getting meaningful services, leaving and telling their loved ones about us. And so we're pretty proud of that. There's always more to do, but we're proud of that. With that, I don't want to suck up all the wind here and let Anna talk a little bit more about what this means in a life.
Sweet, thanks. Good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to briefly share a story of one of my early clients at OnTrack. This person, we'll call her RG for privacy's sake. So RG has become one of my favorite clients because when she came in, mid-50-year-old woman whose goal in her first appointment with OnTrack, one of the services that Jonathan mentioned, she came in for budgeting. In this budgeting appointment, RG shared that all she wanted was an apartment. I was like, okay, we can do this. And in trying to figure out, well, what's standing in the way, she's homeless and staying in one of our local county shelters. She's unemployed, and she's awaiting a 2-year disability back pay. So homeless, unemployed, waiting for disability, and that could go on longer. In the first session, RG, all she wants to do is plan, what do I do with this $10,000 in back pay from disability when I get it? So she starts to talk and list out all the things that she wants to use the money for. At the top of her list, it was eyeglasses. And I was like, okay, that's a simple thing. And so she lists out a small amount of money that she wants to contribute out of $10,000 towards eyeglasses. She lists on gifts for other people, rent, which she plans to pay, renter's insurance, because she's always a nervous wreck that something's gonna happen, amongst a few other things. Just having enough food, having enough money to do fun things on the side. And so that first appointment went really well. RG leaves, and she just continues to do her own due diligence. Her second appointment, she comes back, and she's been awarded a $10,000. And at this point, she says, well, I applied for an apartment, and I got turned down. And so she says, can we work on my credit? And I said, absolutely. We're going to use part of this money to reconcile your bad debt with the Asheville Housing Authority. She pays it. She moves on to her third appointment, which happens in 2018. She came to us in 2016. In 2018, she came to an appointment only to say that she'd been budgeting and things were going well and she still has part of her money. However, this time, she finds that she keeps pulling out small increments of her money. She says, I'm dwindling down my savings. I have an apartment. Well, I said, well, let's make a system for you. And so we basically used her appointment at OnTrack to do arts and crafts. Which is not typical. We did her budget in 2016, but now she needed time to do arts and crafts. The arts and crafts simply consisted of nothing but colorful envelopes for this person, RG, so that she could put her money in color-coded systems that would make her feel a little bit better. She proudly called me back shortly after that 2018 appointment to say that everything was going perfect, her apartment was nice, her savings was fine, and that she still had all of the envelopes, but that she called to confess that she added one more. And I was like, that's okay that you added one more envelope to set aside money into. And RG said that last envelope she added was for ice cream, because she'd also picked up on the fact that she had a habit of walking from her apartment across the street to Asheville Cookout, and she frequently bought these ice creams. And I said, as long as you're planning for it, that's fine with me. And so through planning, revising, and then finally we were able to celebrate, RG got exactly what she wanted through the services at OnTrack that me and my colleagues provide. Thank you. My pleasure. You have any questions?
I don't have any questions. You have any?
I just wanted to make a statement and then a follow-up question. You mentioned that you had been marketing to people of color, but that wasn't actually the hook, but you tried some other things. Just talk a little bit about how you do market to communities of color.
Absolutely. One of the things that Jonathan mentioned is that we have several programs at OnTrack, and the programs always consist of a short class, and it follows up with one-on-one counseling with a counselor like myself. We noticed that there's a barrier to people showing up in intimate settings, like a counseling session, and so they all have to start at a class, and that breaks that ice a little bit. And so what we saw was that more and more people of color showed up to classes versus showing up to one-on-one counseling sessions. And so I do think that also the presence of a person of color, myself, an educator, facilitating some of those classes is what opens the door.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is going to be Homeward Bound A Hope, coordinated entry.
Good morning. Thank you for hosting us today, and thank you for your consideration, and also for your support, previous support for Homeward Bound. I am Meredith Schweitzer. I'm the interim executive director.
And I'm Jenny Simmons, Grants Management Director.
And so we are asking for support in the amount of $53,000 for this particular grant to support our coordinated entry, which actually happens at our A-Hope Day Center. A-Hope is located on Ann Street. We have approximately 175 people who come through our doors each day. And we provide support in the way of mail services. They can have their mail sent to us. We have an address that is available for them. We provide showers. We provide lots of coffee. We provide sandwiches for them, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We are a place for them to come and feel secure, also to get out of the elements. Obviously, if you are homeless, that's a big concern, especially during times of inclement weather. They can come and feel supported in our environment. We also have staff available for case management at that point. They can access their case managers. They can come in for appointments. They can get linked to other services. That is where that point of entry happens, where that coordinated service can happen. And wanted to share a few statistics with you because I think those are really a great way to share our considerable impact. I mentioned that we serve on average 175 individuals each day. Last year in 2018, we served 3,070 individuals, including 2,861 who were literally homeless, which means living on the streets, in emergency shelter, or in places not meant for human habitation. In regards to the services that I just mentioned, we provided 26,000 showers. We served 80,000 cups of coffee and gave out 16,000 pairs of socks, along with a variety of other services. We also have the Room in the Inn program, which is a program that connects and collaborates with approximately 64 faith group within the faith community. And those churches will provide shelter for 12 women who are not able or have difficulty being in a different type of sheltering situation. And these partnerships are really what provide community support and a lot of that visibility and connection in terms of services for this very special group of women. We also have our Welcome Home Donation Center, which is a place that local donors can come and drop off gently used items, toiletries, things like that that you would need to start your first home or your home that you've had for the first time. And donors can bring their items. We will actually place them into a new home when we're housing someone for the first time and helping them to feel like it is a special occasion, like it is. And so we provide $1,000 worth of gently used furniture and household items for each person who's moved into their own home. I wanted to turn it over to you if you want to share anything additional that I may have missed.
Yeah, so our coordinated entry program it's a HUD mandated system, and it's a community-wide developed system. So there's a lot of things that are happening at A-Hope. Meredith mentioned all the number of folks that we served. So our coordinated entry staff are meeting with folks when they first come into A-Hope, doing a pre-intake session with them just to find out where they are, who they are, and what their needs are. And then that's 2 weeks later is really when the coordinated entry system starts to engage. So if someone comes in and they are in housing, but they're about ready to be evicted, there's an assessment for that, and they're referred to a prevention program. We have a diversion assessment, and what that does is if someone is actually literally homeless, so they're at an emergency shelter, or they're on the streets, or they're living in their vehicle, if our case managers can help them get back into housing quickly so that they don't actually engage in the homeless service system for a long period of time and have to wait for housing. That work is being done through coordinated entry. And then at 30 days, we do this vulnerability assessment. That's a 6-page assessment tool that it's really a triage assessment tool where it's morbidity-based. And it identifies things that are causes for people to actually die on the streets. And so it's through that vulnerability assessment that we're identifying the most vulnerable and then referring them to housing to get them housed. So that's the work of coordinated entry.
You have any questions?
Give me an example of a person who would be rate high on your mobility evaluation.
So unfortunately, there are still people in our community who are spending years on the streets. Someone in terms of the length of time that they've been homeless. There are people who are victims of domestic violence that have been served by Helpmate and our other partners. There are people who have experienced extreme trauma in their childhoods, and so they have burnt bridges with family members, and they don't have a support system. Our AHOPE case managers end up being that support system for them. Right now, there are 192 people on our chronic by name list, and this coordinated entry process helps identify who those folks are. And that's the list of people that we are trying to get housed in our community, but due to the lack of affordable housing, we're not able to move that barometer very quickly as we'd like to. So there are a lot of folks who need us.
Thank you.
And Keith, can I just jump in for a second? I want to just clarify that the funding for this program is critical for Asheville to get the $1.3 million from the feds, right?
Correct. So in order to,
Okay.
yeah, our community gets about 1.3 million primarily for rental assistance. And in order to get that funding, our community has to have a coordinated entry system, and that's what this is.
And that 1.3 million goes to a variety of agencies, not just Homeward Bound, is that right?
It does now, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you for your time.
YWCA Empowerment Child Care is next.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We would like to thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning. My name is Salah Manaya Merritt, Chief Program Officer, and I am accompanied by Alicia Sumi, the ECC or Empowerment Child Care Director. Our Executive Director, Beth, would like to send her thanks as well for the opportunity. She was unable to be here, but we hope that we will do justice this morning in presenting. So the importance of child care to women's economic and physical health became evident as early as the 1940s when the YWCA Young Wives Club began offering group child care at its meetings. The service expanded to other YWCA programs over the years, and in 1973, the YWCA officially opened the Empowerment Child Care Program to the broader community. Today, the YWCA offers the only no-cost child care program in Asheville. What we'd like for you to take away from this is that Empowerment Child Care is available to families seeking economic security by pursuing education, job training, or accessing vital social services such as the Family Justice Center, Work First, substance abuse treatment, or legal matters. Child care is available 58 hours per week, Monday through Saturday, and is open until 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. Participants may use the services for up to 12 hours per week. While reservations are needed for efficient staffing, the program holds emergency slots to help families in crisis, particularly those fleeing domestic violence or accessing services to help in recovery from domestic violence or sexual assault. drop-in childcare services in Buncombe County. Last year, Empowerment Childcare served approximately 1,500 participants for a total of 12,000 hours of no-cost childcare, and these are unduplicated numbers. ECC empowered these families to improve their economic security by securing a job, applying for public benefits such as disability, attending school, or other vocational training. One of our success stories happened just this week. We had a family come in that's not locally from Asheville, a mother and a father with one child needing services. Alicia was able to direct them to some resources that they needed. We were able to provide them with bus passes, as well as provide them with child care for their child while they were assessing these services. And then I'm not sure if I've missed anything, so Alicia, is there anything that you would like to add?
And it's absolutely no cost, or is there a sliding?
So for this, there is no cost, right? And we do have where there is a sliding scale. So if parents can pay, then yes, but mostly it's no cost.
And what's the YWCA's overall budget?
Our overall budget is 300, I'm glad I brought that, 3,060,000, let me give you the right number. I apologize, give me just a second. I know I have it. 3,567,671.
Okay. And a question that we frequently ask during this process is, if you were not awarded the full amount, where would that land you? Where would you be?
We currently seek out other grants, so we have MOUs with different organizations such as GO, their participants use, and so we get money from them as well. AB Tech, we have a contract with them as well. And this program, again, was started in 1973, so we're hopeful that it's sustainable.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Julie, did you have something to add?
I do. It's really a question for the staff. Is there any way that this could fall into economic development as opposed to
I'm getting a nod, Julie, to say no, that this doesn't qualify under the regulations for that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one more. Thank you, Alicia.
All right, so you're gonna do the next presentation
I'm
as
gonna,
well?
yes, I have 4 today.
Mother
so-
love.
Mother love, yes. So hello again. Pregnancy is the primary reason high school girls do not finish their education. Nationally, only 36% of teen mothers reach graduation. By contrast, in the past 10 years, overall, 96% of Mother Love participants have graduated from high school, and only about 2%, have had a subsequent pregnancy during their enrollment in Mother Love. Compared with national data, which indicates that only 36% of teen mothers graduate and approximately 30% of adolescent mothers have a subsequent pregnancy. The impact of YWCA's Mother Love program is significant. In 2015, there were 187 documented teen pregnancies in Buncombe County, or a teen pregnancy rate of 27.9% per 1,000 girls. This past year, 2018, we had a 100% success rate where 16 out of 16 seniors enrolled in the Mother Love program graduated from high school. This past spring, 27 out of 33 participants enrolled in Mother Love either graduated high school or were promoted to the next grade level. One of our past graduates shared the following with us. Without Mother Love, I wouldn't have finished high school. I wouldn't have the resources I needed. I wouldn't have known where to begin to look. I wouldn't have been competent or confident in being a parent. I learned how to take care of my baby and myself. Additionally, I would just like to add that we do have lunch bunches within the schools, 9 area high schools, where we actually go in and we share a lunch. We bring in doulas. We talk about going from high school to college, just all different types of things. Safe relationships, so different topics to discuss what's going on with these individuals. And we do have follow-up care as well, so.
Do you all offer monetary support?
We give stipends. So if they attend our annual meetings, and we have monthly meetings as well, there is a stipend that comes from the Tippy grant through state funding.
And what does pregnancy prevention look like? Because I thought you only convene with young ladies who are pregnant.
We do, and the fathers come as well. So we also have some of the, we have, not all of them, but we do have young men who will come in, and we talk about safe sex, and we bring condoms, and we talk about how to use those condoms, and we have to show, and sometimes it's not comfortable for young individuals because it's more than just using the condoms to not get pregnant, but actually to make sure that you're not getting the STD. So we cover all those aspects of it. Anything else?
Anything else you'd like to add, or?
No, I don't think so. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Fiscal Legal Services Homelessness Prevention Project.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Ben Manny. I'm the Program Director for the Homelessness Prevention Project at Pisgah Legal Services. This is my boss, Ms. Robin Merrill. She is the Managing Attorney. Thank you so very much for having us again. We very much appreciate y'all's support over the years. It's not just the funding that you provide us, but it's the opportunity to show other funders, potential funders, that the city has our back when we're asking them to award us grants. HPP is a program that I'm very, very proud to be a part of, and it is a program that you all can be very proud to support. We have a team of attorneys that are eminently qualified, eminently skilled, but most importantly, they have the thing that you just can't teach. They all deeply care about their clients. They all deeply care about our community, at times probably to their own detriment. I think as a society, we're starting to take note finally that we are in an eviction crisis. And this eviction crisis is, in so many ways, is more insidious than the foreclosure crisis that we faced 10 years ago, mostly because of who it affects and the ripple effects that it has that I think we're finally starting to take note of. We know that nationally, women are disproportionately affected by eviction, specifically women of color, specifically mothers. This type of displacement can make our communities transient and can reduce opportunities. This type of displacement has the effect of keeping the cycle of poverty going. Some of the ripple effects and other things that you need to know about our program is that we don't just prevent evictions, we protect home ownership. 10 years ago, when the mortgage crisis was happening, we were there. What we're finding is that the rate of mortgage foreclosures is going down, but what we suspect will happen in a community such as ours is that tax foreclosures will increase. As the property values in Asheville skyrocket, so do the tax burdens. Who's going to be affected by this? Well, it's going to be seniors. It's going to be people who have maybe had a home in their generation for years, who no longer can afford the taxes on it. This is one of the very few tools as a municipality that we have to slow down gentrification. And believe me, we've looked into it.
Tell me more about that.
Specifically, what would you like to know?
You said that the services that you've been doing so far, it slows down gentrification?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me more
So
about
ultimately, I'll give you an example. We had a lady last year who owns a home in a neighborhood where property values are exploding. It was her father's home. I don't know how long she's owned it specifically, but it's been in her family for generations. And she does not want to sell that home. But she went into tax foreclosure last year, and we saved the home. She has had many, many offers to purchase this home because the houses that are going up around her are 4 and 5 stories, and she's got a modest 1-story home. We were able to keep her in that home. So it's examples like that of where we keep people in homes and keep them in their neighborhoods that prevents these communities from being displaced. Our work also protects jobs. Ultimately, if you are on a bus line and you are getting displaced, there's a strong likelihood that you're going to have to find another job, and fast. And in doing so, you are going to lose all the goodwill that's been created at that job, the training, the experience. And it's likely that that new job may very well be lower paying than the old job. And so you can see how this would create a cycle. Our work helps our children. You know, Jim Barrett, our executive director, has been quoting a stat for years and years that when a child is displaced in the middle of a school year, they take half a grade level step back. As a parent of a child at Claxton, you know, this has taken sort of an emotional it's taken, it means more to me now than it ever did before. Given the achievement gap that we have in our town, this is, something where if children are being displaced and taking a step back, this is one of the few tools that we can use in a municipality to slow that down. We're innovative. We have the only program that I'm aware of in the state where we station attorneys at the courthouse and provide the possibility of representation to 100% of qualifying applicants. Nobody else is doing that, and it's one of the few in the country that is not mandated by an ordinance and therefore funded by an ordinance like New York City or San Francisco. We collaborate. We have been utilizing social workers to do handoffs to other organizations in town. The past 2 years, we've made a connection with Western Carolina's internship program, and so we've had a social worker for the past 2 years. We have utilized volunteers better than anybody. We've got a team of retired attorneys that have emeritus status, which means they can only practice if they're doing pro bono work. And frankly, they've been coming in and they've been getting hooked. And we've been having them do things that, maybe don't fit a specific grant, but are really important work, like helping people get a security deposit back, and that sort of thing. So I'm well over time. Do y'all have any questions for me?
I have a question.
Sure.
Very important work, but I have to be candid. How do you all manage the incoming calls? I know it's high volume. How do you manage it? Because I hear a lot of people in the community say that they reached out to you all, and it's taken some time for a response.
I want to take, you could take it, but go ahead.
I really appreciate you telling us that and giving us that feedback, and we are getting that same feedback. And so what we are doing right now to try to handle that is that we are developing an online application system that will, I think, certainly make it easier for our community partners to refer people to us. It will be usable from a smartphone, so it'll be smartphone friendly, and it'll probably be late summer before that's actually ready to go. Honestly, our phone system is a bit antiquated, but it was very expensive, and we're not quite ready to let it go. And we're not able to staff that phone in the ways that we probably need to. I know that in the first 2 months of this year, we have worked 250 more cases than we did that time last year. So our demand is just continuing to increase. But please let the community know we are trying to do our best.
They hear you.
Yeah, to really increase our access and make our agency more friendly to the, and I would also, and my frontline staff wouldn't like to hear me say this, but I would also say if somebody can't get on the phone, just come right over to Charlotte Street. And we're on the bus line, we're open 8:30 to 5, and just stand there till you get our attention.
That's right.
We are serving thousands of people a year, and so it gets really hard to manage all of it.
That's right.
But we want to help people, and we are seriously over time. But there's one case we're working right now that is the one that's keeping me up at night, and it's a woman whose landlord has shot at her. And
Slashed her tires twice as well.
right, and I wished those things didn't exist in our community, but unfortunately they do. And so I'm so grateful that she has gotten to us and that we're able to help her through that process.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
For the work y'all do in the community.
Thank you, sir.
The next is going to be Project Lighten Up, getting back to the basics.
It's good to see you walking in. Last year you were on cane.
I was.
Something going on last year.
I still use a cane occasionally, but it is great to be here. I do want to say we appreciate this opportunity that you have given us and for the support you've given us. So thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. One of the things we want to say, this is, I'm Pastor Hardaway, Community Project Lighten Up. This is Dr. Elsie Ray from One Youth at a Time, and this is Ms. Bobette Mays. She's a utility person. She does just about everything. She's very resourceful, very confident, and so again, we appreciate the support from everyone. You want to say anything? Let me go.
Oh, it's good to be here, and we express our thanks to the city for their past support and to the community as well.
Okay, good. Keep my eye on the time. Project Educate is the acronym is Empowering, Developing, Uplifting Community-Wide Effort, and Tutoring Everyone. There's 4 words I'd like to say. One, we make a difference. We do. from the basics, preliminary results that we see in evaluations, our students have improved.
And now, do
This-
you evaluate, I don't mean to, I just want to jump in, because I kind of know you, so.
Right, right.
It shouldn't throw you off
No,
too
no, no,
much.
no.
But do you do testing when they first come in or after?
We do both. We do,
Okay, good.
we try to do, we do a testing in the beginning, we do a testing in the middle and at the end. And from the grade scores that we see right now on the preliminary evaluations, that they've improved. And so that's what we're looking for. We're looking at this year being the baseline, would give us a good baseline for what we do and what we accomplish in the next year. Some of the things that they do basic math, and they consistently practice addition, subtraction, multiplication. I'm going to give you a little laundry list. Division skills using a variety of methods, worksheets such as worksheets, games, manipulatives, computer-generated programs that focus on math. They do reading, comprehension, writing skills. Each student wrote a reflection and summaries of their UNCA science lab and exploration program. They do vocabulary structure and spelling. We try to focus on phonics, reading comprehension. So there's a variety of things that we try to use to help educate and help strengthen them. I think we're probably the only program, maybe not the only program, but we do try to do remedial, but not just remedial. We try to do enrichment. And so we try to have that blend of remedial help, but also stirring and stimulating the minds of our young people, because not all of them need remedial help. Some need that kind of, that enrichment will help spur them on and help stimulate their interest for learning. In addition, getting math, reading, writing opportunities. We're planning more science lab. We're working with UNCA. We're working with AB Tech. Last year, we were part of the Arboretum where they did the Eco Explore program. I think I mentioned one time that they actually won some iPods for having earned too many points in what they were doing. You have questions?
How do you qualify your staff?
There's a background check, and we're looking for students who are certified. We have a retired certified teacher right now from middle school, and so that's one of the ways that we're looking for. They don't necessarily have to have a certification, but if they have some experience working with children, one of the basic things is that they got to like working with kids. You know, if they don't like working with kids, then it's going to be challenging. And also, you have to be innovative. You have to be they have to be interactive. You just can't just come in and put something on a board, but you have to be very engaging and fun at the same time. Go ahead.
I just wanted to make a point that we do utilize a young man that's one of our Bonner Scholars from Mars Hill University, and he's actually doing a robotic piece for our kids. The most important thing that, to piggyback on Pastor Hardaway and what he says, is that we realize that the achievement gap, we want to try to bring that into focus. And so we have been working we've gotten in touch with the superintendent from the Buncombe County Schools, and we've talked to the assistant superintendent for the Asheville City Schools, because we also want to be just as, we want to be up to date on what our kids are learning, so that we're teaching them what they already are experiencing in school, because we understand, especially reading, and we've seen a poll of young African-American young men, that their reading skills, they're below that area in reading and math. And so we're trying to, Pastor's always trying to, I call him Pastor, I'm sorry.
We all call him Pastor.
But,
Especially my birth name.
yeah, but that's what I, that's how I relate to him. But the program itself is to bridge that gap and to enrich our youth and for them to be able to do more things.
So summer learning loss is real.
Yes.
Do you track their grades? Well,
Yes.
when they matriculate back into the school year?
Yeah, we're trying to bring up a program where what we see from last year, say this year, they bring in their grade cards, they bring in their reports, and trying to use that as a base to say, okay, this time next year at the beginning of the school year, did they do better? Because that's the issue, is that the learning loss, that they can lose 2 grade levels of math and reading. So next year, are they at a better point next year at this time than they were this year at this time? And so
The reason why I ask is because we have a lot of people coming and they're presenting their programs, as a remedy to our achievement gap, but they have limited communication with the schools and teachers.
Right, and that's why that's why we work with the school system, the city school system. We've talked with the superintendent from the city school system. We've talked with the superintendent from the county. So we're trying to bridge that to ensure that what we're providing is consistent with what they're providing in the school system, so that we're not teaching apples and oranges.
And could I just quickly say that also coming out of the experiences that we have, many of staff and others have worked in this area for many, many years. And out of that, we feel that that experience plays a major role in addressing many of our problems with our children.
And we're not just looking for retired teachers. We're looking for those innovative young teachers who would like to make some kind of contribution to the community. So if you all are out there, give us a call at 274-2533.
Thank you, overtime, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, so next we're gonna have the Spark Foundation. You asked them to move the Spark Foundation down to 955.
I'm sorry, we're
that a
moving it
mistake?
under economic development.
Oh, you want to
The
do
time
it?
would be,
All right.
yeah.
Excuse me, so it will be Riverfront.
And Kathy, while the Riverfront folks are coming
Ms.
up, I've got the same question about this, which is, can it go under economic development? Because it seems to be where it's wanting to be.
I think she's gonna answer that
Is
question, right?
Paul, can you speak to that?
With all the evaluation that's,
Oh, you may have to come up to them.
Sure, Paul D'Angelo with the Community and Economic Development Department. As of right now, that application with our evaluation is with Public Services, and so it stays in that category. Some of them get quite interestingly close to where they could switch around to, and we'll keep evaluating that with future applications, but Public Services.
Thank you, Paul. So, Riverfront.
Catherine.
And then
Good
next
morning.
we'll have, excuse me, I'm sorry, and then next on deck, we'll have the Spark Foundation.
I want to thank you for having us today to explain our project. This project is a tourism or economic development project, but it's also a social justice initiative. Since 1923 through 1965, there are absolutely no City of Asheville records of graduates of the Stevens Lee High School. That represents an official exclusion. But the school is not unmentioned. It's mentioned in slavery records. The residents are mentioned in regarding the Civil War, Reconstruction, Jim Crow, civil rights, urban renewal, and redevelopment, but largely as objects, not agents. Residents are viewed as primitive and unfortunate, an annoyance and a tragedy, a people without a history, a people who have contributed nothing to this city, nothing important, worthy of recognition. This neglect and this denial has brought the city to where we are today. This is what the project is all about. It is about a Stevens Lee Museum, a record repository, recognizing the achievements and the presence of African Americans in the city. It's an equity project. And I get emotional about this. It's also about establishing a vision for racial equity. I hope that you find it worthy of funding, as the TDA, or Tourism Development Authority, has already made a judgment that it is worthy and has appropriated to us $100,000 to bring that museum and its documents to fruition. There are few records, and what records there are about the African American community dispersed in about 10 different institutions. Not one of them has any records of graduates. How do you prove you graduated from high school? I think it's shameful. Thank you for the opportunity.
Anybody have any questions? No?
I do, Keith.
Go ahead, Julie.
Yeah, so can you talk a little bit more about what this particular funding would do? I know that the TDA funding is a lot about the upfit and the signs. I read your application to say that this grant would be to engage local people to help build the history, help write the signs, help pull together some of the documentation that you're talking about. Is that right?
There are actually two different TDA grant fundings. The application today is regarding furnishing and updating the school facility to accommodate a collection of materials from all those various sources into one place called the museum. That's what the $100,000 is for. It does not include the soft costs, such as furnishings and other materials to actually make the museum a functioning facility. The second grant that TDA is funding are 19 waymarking signs giving direction and meaning to a trail to the Stevens Lee Museum. That is a cost in the hundreds of thousands. And so the application is two different things. They are interconnected and they all represent a final end product called a museum, which is also a tourism attraction.
Tell me how you envision creating the 12 cultural arts business enterprises from this project.
The 12 business enterprises are going to be businesses that are either created by or employ low and moderate income residents in the creative industries, because in Asheville, there is no cultural arts training facility.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. I will say this. Go ahead, Julie.
Well, yeah, so I'm just still puzzled because I'm bad wanting to fund this, but it doesn't seem to go into public service because it's not the same as the other organizations and services that are provided. So this application talks about funding is requested to assist 12 cultural arts businesses enterprises for the collection, interpretation, and digital preservation of the Heritage Trail stories to reflect the rich and complex culture of the area at interactive kiosks, et cetera, et cetera. So this, I mean, it seems to me that this is funding to pay to hire businesses to do this work, which strikes me as economic development rather than public service. So I'm still puzzled as to why it can't be an economic development. Can we get a little more information about that?
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry.
Well, I think that from a staff perspective, and I think we've talked to Ms. Mitchell about this, the public services does allow for the ability to hire businesses, micro businesses that are less than 5 people and help them
Correct.
grow.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what causes this to fall into that category, the public services category. That is, we would note that, Julie, what you're looking at in the application, that what Ms. Mitchell just referred to is a change, is not written within that application.
But that was exactly the intent.
So I'll close out with this. I hadn't heard the timer yet. Is it still going?
I think I'm done.
I didn't even hear it. So way over time on everything, so I'll just jump in anyway. I grew up in a household where both of my parents went to Stevens Lee. My mother started at Allen, private school and then subsequently finished up at Stevens Lee. But for those of you who don't know about the rich history of Stevens Lee High School, the Castle on the Hill, I grew up hearing about the bands and basketball teams and all the awards and all sorts of rich cultural history that is almost lost unless you actually go over to Stevens Lee and see what's left as relics on the wall. But my parents do have many of the yearbooks and all the graduates, and so it's going to be interesting to see how that comes together in the museum and everything else that you're doing. So thank you, and
I'd just like to say
you wanna add anything else? Sure.
one thing. One of the projects that we are going to initiate immediately is to ask graduates from all over the country to send us a copy of their high school diploma so we can begin to get some sense of how many students who are still alive attended the institution.
I know my dad still has his. He displays it regularly. I do too. So thank you.
Thank you.
And next, we will have the Spark Foundation.
Hard to follow a presentation with such impact. Thank you for that. Good morning. I'm Jackie Latek with the Spark Foundation, and I'm here to talk about our Changing Together program. The single most important predictor in recidivism is joblessness. Nationally, 41% of managers are unsure about hiring somebody with a criminal history. 26% are just plain unwilling. So where does that leave us when 1 in 3 adults has a criminal record? Spark solutions are employment connections and life skills support for individuals living in marginalized communities. Barriers to employment beyond those criminal histories include lack of experience, lack of self-confidence, transportation, food insecurity, housing, work clothes. I could go on and on. Our peer support specialists provide unlimited support to our clients while they achieve their goals. Each client completes an assessment where we determine their level of risk or instability by looking at 7 life domains: employment, housing, education, criminal history, financial, transportation, and health. With our clients, we prioritize their needs and develop goals. 90% of our clients establish employment as their primary goal. So far this fiscal year, 51% of our clients have obtained sustainable employment. Some of the keys to employment success beyond the strength and grit of our clients are constant communication between our staff and clients, follow-up after jobs are obtained, providing transportation or bus passes, resume and interview prep, mitigating issues with probation requirements, mitigating issues with landlords and evictions, overcoming the barriers to obtaining an ID. Finally, employment success is due to relationships with existing employers willing to give folks a second chance. It's critical for our case managers to know the hiring practices of local companies. It is also important for us to increase the amount of companies willing to hire people with criminal histories. We offer these services to any individual in the community living at or below the poverty level. We are on site in public housing on food distribution days. We are connecting with schools to reach parents. We offer these services to parents involved with the Department of Social Services as well as other providers. For this funding request, we are asking for funding for a full-time case manager, peer support specialist, who will not only support clients directly, but who will build relationships so that we can have more employers and more landlords willing to rent to our clients. A life skills group for former offenders, which is led by an inspiring peer support specialist who has his own story of redemption from a criminal past.
And what's his name?
Tony Shivers.
Okay.
And also to provide a financial literacy group for teens that's specifically designed for at-risk youth. And that will include my daddy taught me that and my sister taught me that kids. That is our request. Thank you for your support.
Any questions?
It sounds a lot like Go, just the services you offer, but what's different?
We're out probably in some different communities. So we have some experience working with folks with extensive criminal histories, which Go provides workforce development, but there are particular folks with certain backgrounds that they're unable to work with that they can send to us. If we have somebody that we're working with that wants to go down the culinary track or construction track, we might send them over to Go. So there is certainly that back and forth. But our services are not limited in any way. So as long as a client requires support, we're out there with them. And we're going to the communities to let folks know we exist. So that part about being on site in public housing, being on site in schools, to let folks know, are you looking for a job? We can help you.
And what are the job duties of your peer support specialist?
So they will do an assessment with all the clients, and then once they develop those goals, they are there walking that road with them to achieve those goals. So that could be everything from filling out applications, connecting them with the right employer, and then getting them to those interviews, helping them ensure that they can get there continually over
Any
time.
intervention?
Well, I say what I'm hearing from case managers is that folks often show up to our office first time, fairly hopeless, that they've applied for jobs and haven't achieved employment, sort of feel like things have been against them. Oftentimes, that kind of counseling up front has to happen first before we take any technical steps to employment, which is we have to offer a level of hope and positivity that, yes, you have value, and yes, we can help you get connected with an employer. That's often where we have to start first. So those kinds of interventions.
Okay, and last thing, because I know we're over time, but what are your numbers on job retention?
Well, we've just started this outreach this last year. So 51% of the folks that we're working with have achieved sustainable employment.
Living wage?
Yes. We're hoping to be able to track that as we continue to do this program moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? All right, moving on, Green Opportunities. Is anybody here from Green Opportunities?
We do have some.
Good morning. My name is Heavenly Jackson. I'm with Green Opportunities as the Development Director. I'm also accompanied here today by Lisa Lemons, the Operations Director. And we appreciate having the opportunity to share our mission and services, as well as make the case for support for Green Opportunities. The Green Opportunities was the vision of two men who couldn't be more opposite from one another, but they shared a common vision, and that was to put marginalized communities back to work here in Asheville. When we talk about progress such as the gentrification and the property developments and things, a lot of things that are not taken into consideration is this underlying population that has been traditionally disenfranchised from financial equity and social justice. And so Green Opportunities has stepped up and created a variety of viable workplace training programs and an array of support services that are designed to help marginalized communities get back into the mainstream of full-time permanent employment and also pair them with support services. I'd like to say that, I know our other partner, Spark, talked about working with incarcerated persons. We are uniquely qualified in that we work with a variety of the community's population, including incarcerated. And what makes us unique is that we can work with hard-to-place individuals. We tout a 90% retention rate for those who have been incarcerated in terms of them not re-offending and staying in the community. And we also work in a unique way in that we create a holistic approach. We not only provide short-term vocational training, but we pair it with support services that can include such things as child support, stipends, or bus voucher transportations. We consider ourselves a one-stop solution for marginalized individuals. Instead of one individual trying to go out and shop around to 5 different agencies to get help, they can come in and speak with the case manager and get an assessment done that does 2 things. It accomplishes a life assessment, where they are at personally and what types of services and challenges we need to pair that person up with to overcome life barriers. And then we also pair them with a practical work plan. What is going to best serve that person moving forward in terms of their career training and placement into a full-time work situation. So, and at the point of enrollment, our persons not only get training, but they also get ongoing transition support that carries 12 months after they have trained. So we don't just train you and cut you off and say, figure it out for yourself. No, you have a community approach, a holistic approach to pairing you with whatever support services you need to make you successful long term. What we know about workplace training is that it is not only beneficial to the individual, but it stabilizes the community at large. It also deals with the tight labor market that Asheville is experiencing. We're putting trained candidates who are ready to work back into the workforce. We also are reducing the government dependence, or the dependence on government interventions and subsidies, once people have transitioned from being on some form of government support or subsidy and moving into full-time employment. One of the success stories that we have involves a gentleman who I just spoke with about 2 weeks ago, and his name is Joshua. Joshua came to Green Opportunities looking for a way to change his life. Instead of working a series of low-paying jobs with no benefits and being underemployed chronically, he went through our Youth Build training program, and as a result of that Youth Build training program, he went on to AB Tech, who is an integral partner of what we do. And he was able to acquire skills in welding and pipe fitting. Well, we're pleased to say that he has just been hired by Duke Energy as a full-time pipe fitter with a competitive salary and full-time benefits. And he texted us a picture of himself just last week, and he couldn't be more proud, and we couldn't be more proud of him. Just to give you an overview of our programs, we offer several that people are familiar with. The Youth Build Construction for persons ages 16 to 24 that pairs them with not only construction-related skills, but also GED preparation and training. We have a culinary program that prepares people for the food industry, because we all know Asheville is a foodie town. So we provide them with entry-level positions in culinary. That is a 17-week program. And we also provide peer support specialist training for persons who have come out of a substance use background and have stabilized. We train them to help others walk the path to sobriety. And we're pairing them up with jobs with the county that start at a competitive wage of $40,000 plus with full benefits. So Green Opportunities gives individuals the opportunity to change the narrative for their life. And we're very proud to be a part of that, and we hope to enlist your support in continuing with those workplace programs.
Thank you.
Can I entertain any questions?
I don't have any questions. Do you have any questions? Julie, you have any questions?
I do. Can you talk a little bit about your success rate in terms of placement of your clients?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the back end of the question.
Can you talk about your success rate in the placement of your clients?
Well, we have folks that are dedicated, well, a couple things. We have case managers that work to place folks in employment. We also follow them 12 months after they are placed. So if they're having challenges in the workplace, or they're having a wonderful transition and want to continue in training programs, we work with them with monthly, quarterly, and like I said, 12 months out, year-end assessments. So we're partnered with the employer as well as with the student to make sure that that is a good placement for them. We also have upstaff personnel. Upstaff personnel spun out of our case management services, and the staff over at Upstaff work with employers, kind of grooming our students to meet employers, making sure that we have viable work relationships with these prospective employers, so that employers think of us with top-of-mind awareness when they're ready to place students. So we try to come at it with different, multiple approaches in terms of placing our students.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. for your
Okay,
time.
thank you for your time. Thank you.
Next, we're going to have is a joint application, Opportunity Asheville. There are several organizations, so you've been allocated, looks like 10 minutes.
And explain something to me, Kathy. It was a little confusing because I got 4 applications, Opportunity Asheville for $270,000, and then each one individually for around $100,000. So is it a joint application, or are you all doing a joint application then individual?
So that's been an ongoing kind of challenge Councilwoman Smith. Initially, we were asked to do a joint application, and then each agency was also asked to do their own individual application. And so we've been, we've just been following that. Yes, ma'am. So good morning, and thank you all again for an opportunity to be before you, which is an awesome segue for my portion of the presentation to just kind of bring us back in the room around how Opportunity Asheville came to be. It's actually the brain trust of Housing Community Development Committee. In about 2014-15, the committee then consisted of Councilman Gordon Smith, who was the chairperson, Councilwoman Julie Mayfield, and Vice Mayor Gwen Whistler. Vice Mayor Whistler and Councilwoman Julie Mayfield were really struggling with economic development providers and the seeming inability of those providers to provide continual or a continuum support of services for the participants without it being duplicating or appearing to be duplicating of services. These agencies were collaborating. They were providing some support or wraparound services. However, that wasn't obvious. It wasn't obvious at all. We had developed a platform or a matrix that showed that, but even that platform wasn't obvious to HCD. So with that, they came back to us and said, look, what we want you all to do is we want you to find a way to join collaboratively in an application that shows us that you're working together. And so Opportunity Asheville Alliance was born. And with that, we will show how the participants can enter any of these agencies individually or collectively and be supported by the agencies. We've also, because of this, been able to build new partnerships because individuals like AB Tech and Self-Help Credit Union want to be more aligned with us because we have the collaborative. The Alliance has been operating successfully since we formed in 2014-15. We meet monthly to talk about how we can strengthen ourselves, how we can improve the program, and how we can build a robust marketing program that gets out to the target community that we're trying to serve. And with that, I'm going to allow Sharon to come forward and have remarks.
Thank you. Thank you, Council. I really appreciate your time, and we appreciate the past support. I have worked with the CDBG funding now for over 17 years, so this is a great opportunity for all of us. I'm Sharon Oxendine. I'm the Western Women's Business Center Director for Carolina Small Business. And I have to admit, when we were first asked to collaborate, that I really was not crazy about that idea. And I have come to see that we have become stronger. We've been able to support the mission and the strategic plan of the city of Asheville in a better way. And I'm going to tell you that by giving you some hard numbers. The way we've done that is we've worked together as partners and created the following outcomes. 66 sustainable jobs created or retained in the last year, 2017-2018. 61 local micro enterprises owned by low-income individuals started or expanded. 309 low-income individuals provided high-quality business training and technical assistance, and over 150 additional jobs created by businesses started or expanded with the support of this coalition. 50% of the loans made by the Western Women's Business Center went to minorities for a total of $2.1 million deployed in the city of Asheville. And 76% of Mountain BizWorks loans went to women and or minority clients. That in itself allowed for me to see how we're leveraging all that we have to work together. We also host the African American Business Association, which is held at the Eddington Center on the third Tuesday of each month. We provide lunch, networking, and education. We have grown that to about 25 members. We really are proud of the work that we have done, and I feel like we've come a long ways. And my partner, Matt Raker, will be up
I have a
next.
question for you right before you step away. My question to you is very similar to the one I asked the YWCA. Individually, your organization's budget is around $6 million, maybe? In the
For
year.
Carolina Small Business,
Yeah,
yes.
so what does this ask mean to your portion of the program?
Well, as you might know, we are a program of that. They are our host. And right now, we have to raise all of the money that we have. So I think my budget is around 500,000, and currently I have about 200,000 of that raised each year. So it would mean a lot, because we would be able to continue to provide services and reach deeper. I think all of us know that working in these communities is a lot of hand-holding. There's a lot more work to do and a lot more boots on the ground. So I appreciate that question.
And how would this funding contribute to the African American Business Association?
Well, we have an outreach coordinator, Joe Green, and what we are planning to do, Joe's done a lot of outreach, and he's helped us build that African American Business Association. We don't pay him very much money to do that. And I have asked that part of that money would increase his salary. And also, we, like I said, we pay for some really good speakers and some education to be a part of that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shanika. I appreciate your questions.
Good morning, Matt Raker with Mountain BizWorks. So Mountain BizWorks has a mission to support a vibrant and inclusive local economy, and is specifically creating pathways to economic opportunity for those that face traditional barriers to doing so. We've been thrilled to really be a part of the Opportunity Asheville collaboration. I've got the opportunity to share about a couple of our clients, our shared clients, over the last year or so. So one, and I encourage everyone to support these great local businesses that I'll be sharing about. So the first one is Katie Dalton with Fusion Day Spa, which is a new wellness spa in West Asheville. Might be a great place after a long council meeting, perhaps. She came to us with just a vision, never having been in a business before, used the IDA program to help save what she needed to help do her startup investment, then worked very closely with the Western Women's Business Center to get coaching on how to get up and running and then be successful after she's been operating. Soundspace, which is a great new project that's revitalizing the old Rabbits Motel down on the South Slope. It's a practice space, shared practice space for musicians. It's also going to have a soul food eatery in there. Has benefited from the IDA program, from Mountain BizWorks, startup financing and coaching. Shanti's Elixirs, exciting, up and coming, one of Asheville's new food businesses, which we know we've got a great group of there. Also an IDA program participant to help save up for starting her business. Has been doing year-long coaching. Because once you're in business, it's just vital for young entrepreneurs to have a sounding board from experienced peers to kind of know they're on the right track, troubleshoot before they get too far off, and be able to maintain success. And she's also, through Mountain BizWorks, been a part of the Test Drive program, which works with Asheville festivals to be able to showcase up-and-coming new products and get in. It's a partnership with the city of Asheville and festivals that are hosted on city property that's been really impactful. I'll mention two more: Homegrown Babies, which does prenatal education services for the parents, not the children, and then Ninjaville, which is an up-and-coming gymnastics and martial arts education and training center for youth. And so all these happen to be entrepreneurs of color or women entrepreneurs in our community, and I think it really speaks to really the collaboration we've had. I think in the past, we certainly collaborated informally and may have made some of these connections, but for example, I think all of these that I mentioned have been through the IDA program. And, pretty much 100% now of folks that go through the IDA program are also getting matched with services from either or both of our agencies. So I'm going to turn it over to our colleague, Zulma Anuel, who's also going to speak about some other shared clients in our Latinx community.
Hi, hello everyone. Thank you for having me and thank you for your time. I'm Surilma Anuel. I am the Latino Program Director for Carolina Small Business Development Fund. Opportunity Asheville program sees the Latin population a place to grow opportunity for all people. I wanted to share a couple of clients that we have been working with in collaboration. One of them is Patricio Vera. He owns a Peruvian restaurant called Cono Sur. They opened the restaurant 6 months ago in Mills River, but they live here in Asheville. They took the foundation class and were able to write a business plan with Mountain BizWorks, and they came to us for a technical assistant, and then we are now working with a loan application. They started with 6 employees, and 6 months later, they now have 15. Another client that we have, would you like me to continue? Another client that we have is Hola Carolina. They are a Spanish magazine here in Asheville. They also started with Mountain BizWorks into the foundation class, marketing class, and then they are now a business coach for Mountain BizWorks, helping other businesses with their coaching other Latino businesses. They are currently working with a women's business center with technical assistant, and then we gave them a business loan, and we are now partnering for a Latino networking launch that we have every other month here in Asheville. And I just wanted to mention one more that we are currently working. We met with Mountain BizWorks yesterday because there is a client that owns a bakery, and she's pretty much getting kicked out. The landlord told her that she has 2 weeks to decide if she can buy the building because he's going to sell. So she needs a $700,000 loan, and there is something that we cannot do on our own. So Mountain BizWorks brought us to the table together with another CDFI and see if this is something that we can put together and help her to continue her business. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions. We are quite a bit over schedule, but we're going to make that time up. We've blown through our break, but we'll make that time up through our discussion as we do allocation. So we're going to muscle through. The next group is going to be Asheville Habitat. This is under the Housing Services.
Morning, council members. My name is Andy Barnett. I'm the Executive Director with Asheville Area Habitat for Humanity. Appreciate your consideration of a $96,000 CDBG grant to serve 12 families with really critical, safe, and healthy home environments. We're seeing tremendous growth in this program over the course of the year, and it's really not surprising when we think that 1 out of 4 owner-occupied households in our community has at least one unsafe condition in the home. So this year, we set out to serve 50 families with home repairs. About 2 months into our program year, we already had more than a year's worth of qualified applications. So we've been stepping up our production over the course of the year and setting a bold new goal for our program for next year to serve up to 70 families in our community. This request is really a key part of that, and we think that it is a very cost-effective investment on the city's part for the outcomes that we see from this. So what we're able to do through home repair is to really provide residents in our community with a healthy place to call home, all of the health benefits that go along with good indoor air quality, with safe conditions to avoid home-related accidents, to create that dignity that people need, to have a home that you can be proud of. Our home repairs really become a platform for energy efficiency improvements, not only the ones that we provide directly, but creating the conditions that allow community action and the other folks that provide weatherization services in the community to come behind and provide their services. You really don't want to add insulation to a roof when the roof already leaks, so we're able to partner with them to make sure that we're creating a platform for energy efficiency investments to be made effectively. And then one of the things that we see out of this program is how it really helps, particularly elders in our community, to stay in the communities and the homes that they love for as long as they want to. And we really, not only are they able to provide that stability in their own life, protect the assets that they've built in their home, but that's a stabilizing force within our communities as we see housing, not transition rapidly. One of the other exciting things in this work over the course of the last year is just a really improved coordination between all of the various agencies that are providing home repair services in the community. So just want to, I know in previous years there have been multiple organizations before you with home repair requests, and it's often a question, well, this is really one of those problems where you need a lot of small solutions that you can kind of tailor to specific situations, and we've really seen this sector grow its ability to coordinate that work over the course of the last few years. So appreciate your investment in this work, and feel like it's a critical piece for our community to create stability and strength for families. Thank you.
Any questions? Julie, did you have any questions?
Nope, thanks.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next up, Homeward Bound Housing Services. And after Homeward Bound, we will go into a break.
Great. Thank you. Thank you again for having us. We're back for the second time today. In regards to this request, we are asking for support for our housing services at Homeward Bound. Homeward Bound's mission is to end homelessness here in Asheville and Buncombe County. We are part of the Housing First model, which means we secure housing and then provide wraparound services of support. We recognize that if you are not housed, if you are living outside in the elements, and you are incredibly at risk, and it is very difficult to see any type of improvements in other areas of your life if you are not properly housed. I am proud to say that we just housed our 2,000th person. We are very proud of that accomplishment. And in regards to this project, this would support our diversion services with this grant. We would use that funding to work with the newly homeless, those who have recently experienced homelessness, who have the means to support themselves if they can secure housing. They're able to sustain it. Oftentimes they have jobs and sources of income. They just need support and services, case management services, to find that housing quickly, and also to provide down payments for that housing, to provide security deposits, things like that make it so difficult to move into a home. Oftentimes we find that those who are newly homeless are that way because they don't have the financial resources to secure housing. This particular grant would pay for 100% of a case manager and 50% of a housing specialist, and this would also be in line with the priorities of the 5-year plan, the 5-year consolidated plan on homelessness. Thank you.
Hey, good morning. Emily Ball at Homeward Bound. I'll just add that diversion, I think, is a really exciting development in our field. This is pretty new for us at Homeward Bound, new in our community, and really new in our field across the country, but there's some great data from other communities that have demonstrated really good results. I think what we have done a great job at Homeward Bound is housing 2,000 people. We're good at getting long-term folks out of homelessness and into permanent housing and keeping them there so they don't return to homelessness. Our shelter system in the community is good at serving kind of that big middle group of people. What we haven't done a very good job at as a community is preventing people from coming into the system in the first place. And I think in this housing market, which we all know is incredibly difficult, extremely tight, it's high time for us to be really creative in the interventions that we're offering to folks. So we are running a homelessness prevention program at Homeward Bound to keep people in units when they're about to lose them. Diversion would be in addition to that. So we'd be working with people who have already become homeless to try to see if we can really work with them creatively to get back into housing immediately so that they don't get further and further into homelessness, which creates more trauma, creates more complications, creates more barriers to getting back into housing for them. People's criminal backgrounds get worse, credit gets worse, If we can avoid all of that, if we can get folks out of homelessness immediately, then that is much better for the individual. It's also much better for our service system. It means that we can spread our resources further to serve people who didn't have that option. So I think diversion is the biggest opportunity that's come to our community in a long time to really stem the tide, reduce that inflow while we're continuing to increase the outflow.
No questions? Would you like to add anything or anything we should know?
Just trying to be very efficient with your time.
Quite all right.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do
Thank
now is we'll take about a 10 to 15-minute break, and that'll give us time to get our numbers together if you need to use the restrooms or whatever, and then we'll convene back here and go through our discussion. Thank you.
Keith and Shanika, just so you know, I've sent my numbers to Kathy, so she's putting them into the system.
All right, thank you. Nah, just about 10 minutes or so. Chop it up on coffee. I'm gonna take about 10 minutes to go through my numbers real quick, and then I'll give it. You need anything? I need to go to the bathroom. All right, hey, Julie, are you still on?
I am.
Okay, I think we're getting ready to reconvene here in just a second.
Okay. I'm watching you guys on YouTube.
Okay.
It's very, very helpful.
So do you want me to walk through this?
Yeah, so Kathy's going to walk us through the numbers area, and we actually have a little bit of an excess to allocate. So Kathy's going to walk us through that, and then we will have a discussion with Julie, myself, and Shanika as to where we want to allocate the funds.
Thank you, this is Kathy Ball, members of HCD committee. So after we looked at how you all rated these and came up with the averages, in the public services category, there is a cap per the CDBG requirements. That's $137,000. Your allocation ends up leaving you with $799,00 that you can allocate to another project. So within that area, you have the ability to add $679 within those categories. Within the other remaining categories, you had the ability to allocate $909,238, and you've allocated $828,413, and that leaves you with the remaining $80,825 to allocate to everything except the public services category. So if y'all want to have some discussion, staff will be ready to make those changes.
Okay.
Can we turn off the lights so we can see better? Would that be okay for the viewers? Is that going to work for our online viewers? If we turn off the lights, is that going to be cool? No?
All right, well, give me a moment as my eyes adjust to the screen.
Did you send me a picture? I can't see the individual numbers that are up there.
That help or worse? Does that help or you want those off too?
That's good, it's
That
better.
helps. That's better. So we're gonna, before we end up deliberating, we're gonna take a moment so Julie can get the information to her. And then we'll go into where we want to allocate, so it may take just 5 minutes or so here.
Does that help, Julie?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So Keith, I'm happy to kick it off if y'all are waiting on me.
Yeah, sure, I didn't know if you asked somebody to send you a picture, so I didn't know if you were ready yet.
Yeah, I've got it.
Sure, go ahead, take it away.
So on public service, we've got just $679 to allocate somewhere else, and I guess I would suggest that let's see, which one is that? Sorry. Perhaps to Mother Love, since it's the lowest allocation we've got right now.
I have no issue with that, that's fine, that's not $600. All right, Shanika?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so I guess we can move to the one that's probably a bit more challenging, where we have the most amount to allocate, which is about $80,000 through the economic development activities. Would like to make an easy suggestion and add the 4,000 some odd dollars to make the Spark Foundation have its full allocation.
I'm fine with that.
I'm okay with it.
Did y'all get that, staff?
And along those same lines, I would say both Habitat and, Habitat and Homeward Bound, again, they're just a few thousand off of their requested allocation.
Okay, can we do that as well? Shanique, are you okay with that? Okay. And then, once those numbers get plugged in, that leaves us with, what is that? Is that 145 roughly left? Can't see.
Yes, it says 145. Well, no, that's not the right number.
That's not
Hang
it.
on just a minute.
It's like, that's doing that really
I
fast.
think they have to run through the formula.
Nowhere close to 80. I think we'll have enough for,
For them to refresh.
So this becomes 81, and this becomes 96. Okay, got it. Here's where you have this, right? Yes. So how much is the balance then that needs to be allocated?
Balance is currently at 676, 133. That's the work.
And what is our number that we can, because we were at 80. Now we're good. This is where we're supposed to have time for our YouTubers to have a commercial. A TV timeout or something. So we just need to know how much money they have left. And everything but public service. What is the remaining amount after we allocate to the additional money?
This one's already have 58 left.
Does that look like the right number?
That's what you can do.
So that is the 678, 133. Right here is our balance of what's not been assigned yet. Everything in this column here is what's been assigned. So I'm just to make sure which total you're looking for.
So if you take the difference in what we have available, which was, I thought was 900,000.
It's easy.
909, 238.
Yeah, it's it's not, we're not.
Yeah, just across the board. That rounds it.
Do we have a new amount to reallocate yet?
No, not yet, Julie.
Well, maybe we can talk a little bit about while we're figuring that out. So my suggestion would be to fully fund, depending on how much is left, to fully fund the Mountain Biz Works and Carolina Small Business Development Fund. And the only reason I say not the Eagle Market Street IDA program is because they've got some money left, and so maybe that's just not being drawn down as fast as they thought. And then anything that's left, go to Greenworks. That would be my suggestion.
So my suggestion is kind of in alignment with that, but whatever the remaining balance is, to evenly disperse between the three.
How do you feel about that, Julie?
Say that again, Shanika.
She said, I'm sorry, you can speak for yourself.
The remaining balance that we have, when we find out how much we have left to allocate, to disperse it evenly between the three within the Opportunity Asheville Collaborative.
Well, maybe, again, since we've got a minute, I didn't ask this question when they were up there because we were behind time a little bit, but the IDA program, the Eagle Market Street program, does have money that hasn't been drawn down yet. I don't know if Stephanie's still there, if she can speak to that.
Would anyone like to come up and speak to that? Sure, thank you.
Julie, this is Stephanie, and we have been ready to make a draw, but there's been some challenge with one, where we should be making, or who we should be making that with, and the changes in staff have been a bit of that challenge. But we have made a draw of our funds and fully have a role. In fact, I have all my participants ready to draw that money for this grant cycle.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's very helpful.
Yes, ma'am.
So with that said, I think that, for me, that answers the question. I don't know if that answers your question, Julie, wholly, but for me, I'm okay with the allocation being dispersed evenly.
But I think Kathy is telling us that if we do that, it will be more than requested. Not this year.
Let's hear some thoughts. Julie, what are your thoughts?
Well, so how much do we have left? What's the balance now? How much do we have left?
Is $73,639.
So what happens if we fully fund, so we can't fully fund all three of the Opportunity Asheville ones, can we, or can we?
Let's try that number. Let's put in for all three of these, the full amounts, and see what that number shows us right here. 90, 90, and 100.
Yeah. And then we've got a balance,
Still leaves you with
6,000. Can we throw that over to Green Opportunities?
Absolutely. That makes sense.
So then add 6,973 to Green Opportunities.
The sausage making isn't pretty, I know.
Well, in this case, we actually have enough. Or-
So I think that you've done it.
So
Let's
just take
simmer on it. Let's just simmer on it.
take a last look, and while we're doing that, I'll say to everybody who's still in the room that came out and applied, thank you. This is never easy. It is never easy. And this year, I think it's kind of almost expected for HCD members to maybe have a preconceived allocation amount based on what you've requested. I think people kind of think we're going to come into the room and already have that together. And for me, I can't speak for everybody else, but for me, I did not have that this year. I had your request, and I knew how much we had to spend, and we looked at I looked at the applications, but I tried not to have a predetermined amount set aside based on all of that. I wanted to come all the way up until this day before I made my final decision. And so I don't know how that works for everyone, but it seemed my numbers that I had were really conservative, and so it left a little bit of wiggle room. And I know that all the programs that you have, that you're serving the community with, are very important to your organizations, the people who come in every day and do that work and serve individuals out in the community. And of course, I mean, we're all working in our own little important areas. And, you know, in my eyes, everybody that made a request has equal importance in this community to help strengthen Asheville as a whole. And I think the work that you've been doing overall is reflective of that, especially in the needs and the requests that you've asked for allocations this year. And hopefully we have made, looks like, some good allocations, and, you know, there'll always be next year.
So let me say something before we call a benediction on it. If we really look at, if we line this up with our priorities and around economic development, workforce development is a higher priority than business service. So I would like to look at what we have here and really put it behind that lens of what our priorities are. Again, business services, it's a lower priority, and we pretty much got them close to their request. I would like to do just a bit of shuffling, if but $30,000 to put into Green Opportunities Pot. So that means 10 from the Carolina Small Business, 10 from Eagle Market, 10 from Mountain Biz Works. Put that into Green Opportunities, and I feel that'll match our priorities.
Well, can I ask a question? If the I don't know if the Green Opportunities folks are still there.
Heavenly is here.
They did leave?
No, they're here.
Oh, okay, great. So this is, last year, they got about 150,000, so this is a pretty significant increase in their request. And my question really is, you know, do y'all think you've got the people in the program, or are you anticipating having the people in the program to spend this additional amount of money?
If someone would like to come speak to that?
And I can't remember, I'm looking real quick, but I can't remember if there was not significant money left over from last year, so never mind.
So yes, the monies that you're discussing allocating for the next year will allow us to meet an additional or deepen our reach in the scope of services that we offer. So it would not be a wasted investment, so to speak. Funding is always, as with all the nonprofits here, a critical piece in what we can do. And so, you know, we would definitely have the ability to do more and to go more in depth with the extra funding.
I feel completely comfortable with that response.
Julie?
Is there something specific? Lisa? I have Lisa Lemons here also, who is the operations director. She built the budget for the proposal that we submitted this year.
I just want to add on to what Heavenly said. When we introduced the Ready to Work program, that is a rapidly growing program, and that's allowed us to train the peer support specialists. We also have a partnership with Buncombe County Partnership for Children that trains early childhood education and certifies people to be able to work in daycares and also start their own businesses, because we know that there is a great need for childcare. There are plenty of vouchers. There are no places to take our kids to get that quality childcare. So we're trying to address that need as well. So this would allow us to be able to consistently provide those kinds of programs and increase the number of participants that we have and put them into sustainable living wage jobs and careers as opposed to just jobs.
So that would take us to where, around 250? Let's see.
So actually, before we do that, I want to ask another question of our Habitat and Homeward Bound folks. And y'all know what I'm going to ask because I asked it on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Because of the late contracting for CDBG, for last year's CDBG, y'all have not spent most of your money in these two programs. do you think is it realistic for you to spend this amount of money that you're requesting in the coming year?
Is anyone still here from those organizations? Please do. Thank you.
So we had the projects for, this is Andy Barnett from Asheville Habitat. We had the projects for last year's award already identified and have been waiting on the contracts. As soon as those contracts were signed, we've already begun to draw on those funds and complete those projects. We don't see any trouble having those projects completed in the next few months and ready to begin drawing on this by the time there's a contract for it.
Julie?
Okay, no, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Andy.
All right. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm loath to take money away from our, from the three groups. So Shanika, let me make sure I understand your suggestion. Your suggestion was to take $10,000 from, well, say it again. Just say it again.
$10,000 from each collaborative partner. That would be Mountain BizWorks, Carolina Business Center, and Eagle Market Street. Just take 10 from each. That'll give us 30 to place in our workforce development initiative.
So the allocations would move from 90 to 80, 80, and then 90.
Well, I don't think I have the latest picture that I'm looking at.
Let's get her another picture.
And Julie, we've not put those numbers in yet that y'all are talking about. So this is
Yeah.
I'm sending you what is currently.
Up there now, okay.
And I'm just,
Is that a Google Doc? Can she not just, is that a Google Doc? Can she not?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's up to you.
we shared it via email.
Okay.
So did you hear that, Julie?
refresh.
They've shared the Google Doc with you via email.
Oh, actually, I might have it. Got it. Thank you, Jonathan. I guess, so I am a little bit worried about that. So Green Opportunities requested 300, and collectively the Opportunity Asheville requested 280. Is that right?
Yes, that's about right.
We're already giving Opportunity Asheville pretty significantly less than they've requested, and I guess I feel like given the opportunity, what do we call it, Keith? The Small Business Enterprise Fund that we
The
set up with
Strategic
the
Partnership
county.
Fund?
The Community Capital Fund.
Community Capital Fund?
The Community Capital
Okay.
Fund, that's it, yeah. I guess I feel like these guys are really poised to push people toward that money.
I wish you were here. I think I feel their contentment in the air.
You feel like what? Say that again.
I feel they feel content, and I might just be jumping out there a little willy-nilly, but if we look at how close we've rearranged the dollars to get everybody close to their ask, I believe that the only group that is significantly from their request is would be Green Opportunities. And these processes can make people feel, that we're kind of doing injustice a little bit. But if we look at the numbers and look at the type of services we give to each community and how disparate some of the outcomes are in certain areas, then I believe that I don't know what the hesitation is with giving the 30 over to Green Opportunities.
Well, I guess it's partly because it's such a big increase over last year's ask. It's a very significant increase as opposed to these groups that have not asked for a lot more than they asked for last year. And let me just be clear, so that the Opportunity Asheville program is targeted at low-income people and people of color, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, if you can hang on, I'm just doing a little math here.
Same thing I'm doing.
Oh, shoot.
All right, I've got a number of $27,013 to Green Opportunities, which would give them $250,000, and that would be made by an equal appropriation reduction from the three respective organizations. Throwing that out there.
Can you say that again?
What is the reduction? I don't know.
So it would bring Green Opportunities to, oh, no, that's the average, excuse me. Give me a second, it's actually gonna be less than that. Let me do this again. Feel free to jump in anytime, Julie.
Can I ask a question? I thought we fully funded the Spark Foundation request.
We did.
That there are four.
So we
So the
probably
sheet
need to
that
take
I'm-
the average column off. Can you
Yeah.
remove that average? I think that's confusing. So the second to the last column is the award, Julie.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, got it. Thank you.
I did the same exact
Okay.
thing here
Yeah.
just a second ago. All right, so it would actually be significantly less, $20,040 allocated to Green Opportunities, and then subtracted equally through the three respective organizations of the Opportunity Asheville. And that
I'm
would
fine
be,
with that. I'm
that
sorry.
would
I
be
was looking at the
$10,000
wrong
less.
column, so I'm sorry.
And so that would be $10,000 less than Shanika's initial request. And while we're doing that, I think as this process continues to go through a maturation process over the last couple of years, as we continue our HCD meetings, I would love to see our Equity and Inclusion Department brought in on these SPF and CDBG funding requests and apply an equity lens across the board. As we want to move to a culture of equity inside the city of Asheville, I think that's very appropriate. I saw our Equity and Inclusion Manager in the room earlier. I'm not sure if she's still here. I don't see her. But that is going to be one of my requests moving forward, that we also have another take on this, even though HCD members are the ones that will be doing the deliberations and making the allocations. I would love to see an equity lens placed on what these organizations do and how it affects their ask, and look historically at the work they've done, including the amounts of money that has been allocated. So that will be something that I will push for moving forward. Where is everyone at on this? How do you feel about this, Julie? Are you?
Yeah,
Can that
so
settle
Keith,
with
I
you?
would support everything that you just said, and I support what's up there right now,
Okay.
the new allocation.
I'll be the auctioneer and say, this is not an auction, of course. And it is taken very seriously.
So you may want to take a vote.
But, so I will move to close out this deliberation process and solidify these numbers as the final request and awards for this year's CDBG.
Second?
All those in favor? Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Staff has a question, please.
Clarifying that
the green opportunities would be the 250,000, and then the 3 opportunity Asheville's would be the 83,320, that was the final decision?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, so there's a motion, there's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you, folks. I think we're right up on lunch right
I
here.
think Paul is trying
Paul
to get
has
up.
another question? Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, just now that that's good, just when it comes to, these are just estimates, I think Marvin's gonna let you guys know about, with these being HUD estimates, if funding comes back on a range, and Marvin will let you know that we might have to. have
Okay,
another
so.
meeting.
Please, go ahead.
We have, this is all a guess, is how much HUD is gonna appropriate. So typically, there are a couple scenarios that you need to make a decision on. Last year's guidance said that if the appropriation is either 10% of what we guess, over or under, we have to meet up again and discuss it. You have to make another decision.
Right.
If it's within the 10%, you can make a decision now on how you want to plus or minus divide the money. You could say, we're going to equally give
I would-
everybody
yeah.
that equal percent. We're
So-
going to fund,
So I would make a suggestion that since we've had kind of had this before, that we, over under 10%, that we make the allocation across the board over under 10%.
right.
Julie, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I would say my only amendment to that was if it's over, if the actual CDBG allocation is over, that we, by 10% or less, that we allocate that across the board to the groups that did not receive full funding,
Okay.
what they fully requested, because some groups did.
I can agree with that.
Agreed.
All right, so that, I don't think we need an official vote or anything on that, do we?
We
Or-
probably do.
Okay, so I would make a motion to, when the funding levels come back, if it's over or under 10% across the board, subtraction. If it's over 10%, an allocation to organizations that not get fully funded through this cycle.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
Thank you.
All right, and if there's nothing else, if there's anyone else has anything to Julie or staff? If
No, I'm just gonna, are you guys gonna take a break for lunch?
Yes, we're getting ready to go to
Okay.
break for lunch. We'll be back here. It's going to be an abbreviated lunch, 12:15.
All right.
12:15,
All right, so I'm
Julie, I'll
gonna-
call you back.
Yeah, thanks. That'd be great.
All right,
Thanks.
we'll see everyone at 12:15. Thank you.
Thank you.